going down, everybody? It's your main man, St. Lamore, checking in with you. This is the Mouth of the South. And you know I'm joined by the lovely co-host of mine, Miss Amanda O, in the building.
Hey, it's Amanda O. What's up, you guys? How are you on this beautiful Sunday afternoon?
Beautiful Sunday. And
wow.
And y'all already know we got some new information for y'all once a week, 1 to 3 on Sundays. Y'all check in with us. So we got some topics for y'all. But what I want to say is, it's a good day to talk about being black. It's definitely a good day to talk about being black. Right here on the Mouth of the South. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna start it off with a song today from this brand new song that just came out on Friday from an artist by the name of Dotto. It's called Back on My Shit. And then once we get done with that record, we're going to get back on our shit right here in the Mouth of the South. One time for your mind. Hold it down.
Back on my shit. Practicing, becoming immaculate, passionate, just took a laxative, coming for everybody, even the dead bodies. Yeah, I just headshot them, on the same Sodom, neck snapping, left dragging, okay, toe tagging. Back on my shit, hungry for blood like I'm drinking the beach. I'm stacking my chips, this is my bag, and I'm all the way in, all money in, rest in peace and live, and my nigga big, all my dogs who gone. I'm back on my grind, made up my mind, this is my time, I'm in front of the line. Front of me now, it ain't funny, you clown. I'm digging her down, my dick in her mouth. She say I be dicking around. She sick of me, loving me, fucking me. I remain sucker free. I'm back on my shit, back on my shit, back up bitch, back on my shit, back on my shit, back up bitch, back on my shit, back on my shit, back up bitch, I'm back on my shit, back on my shit. Yeah, you better back up bitch. Sometimes I get bothered by this saturated market where people wake up one day and decide to go be an artist. Think this is a game and just want the fame and the profit. We are not the same, understand that when we are talking. I'm back on my shit, like trapping in bricks. Just hit a lick and I walk with a limp. Tongue of a pimp, but I ain't a pimp till I'm rolling on bins. With 10 out of 10s, got 20 twins, you know what it is. The realest to live. I'm back on my shit, back on my shit. Back up bitch, back on my shit, back on my shit. Back up bitch, back on my shit, back on my shit. Back up bitch, I'm back on my shit, back on my shit. Yeah, you better back up bitch.
My man.
That was a good song.
I mean, that was the artist Dotto coming out of H-Town. Shout out to the South, man. They always holding it down. And we right here to get right back into our thing. Now, this is the Mouth of the South. For those of y'all who don't know, or for those of y'all who are just now tuning in, this is the Mouth of the South. And we got an important topic here to discuss today. I was saying earlier that it's a good day to talk about being black, and
If anyone wants to call in, dude, and you have any suggestions about it, call in at 804-905-8333.
most definitely. Thank you for that, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If anybody, because you know this is a universal topic, so if anybody wants to join that conversation again, that is 804-905-8333.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to the Factory Radio, my man B on the ones and twos holding it down, whole squad.
Thank you.
But yes, being black. Before we can really get into that, obviously we got to talk about when we even learned what that was, or when we even came into an understanding of blackness. And so, you know, I'm actually throw that off to Amanda O a little bit, so you can elaborate on that first.
Okay.
I mean, you got some good points on that, but just when you kind of came into your understanding of your being black, you know, let's talk a little bit about that.
I was young. I mean, I'm a Nigerian, so I always knew I was black. I mean, I feel like I was more than black. I was African. I associated black people with American blacks, and later started to identify as such because that's all I knew growing up, going through like the American schools, you know. So I was treated the same. I feel every day what it means to always have to keep this facade, this perfect balance between being black and not being too black or not being black enough, whether it's from black or white Americans. I got it from both sides, like, you know, going through the school system. sometimes I was even made fun of from just being African. But that I feel like that's also, you know, because they just didn't know any better. You know, it's what America taught them what Africans were. So I never really took too much offense about that. But I constantly felt the pressure to always like be and look perfect. You know, I figured I was black when I fully understood the experience I had were through the lens of a black person living in America. When I finally understood that they don't differentiate between us on the street, so why do we do that in conversation with one another? That's when I knew I was black. It happened like middle school time, you know? I started just associating myself as black because that's all I knew, you know? I also knew I was African as well, but they all came, it was all one to me, you know? Even though black sometimes would try to make it like it was something else, you know? But me being black, living in America, and first generation Nigerian, I always saw it as one, you know? So
yeah.
That's what I really
I think that is interesting because I know a lot of African people that I know, they are very quick to disassociate with black.
I know. So, that's how I had cousins that were that way. They were literally like, you know, don't call me black. That's not what I am. I'm literally African. Because they would be like, oh, that's black American, like poor, ghetto, you know? And that's like
stigma.
Yeah. So I saw both sides of it, you know? And then I saw the stigma that the blacks had towards Africans when that was also false. So I saw both sides. That's how I was coming into what being black to me was. It was a duality. I was going between both sides of it, you know? But it was, at the end of the day, it was still black, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that is a little.
How was it for you? I mean, you're not.
Well, I mean, for me, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, in my early childhood, like early elementary school, it really wasn't clear to me that I was black yet, and I think it was because I did grow up in the suburbs, so I think that we had some opportunity, or more opportunity than, you know, some of my cousins or other friends, and so. I didn't really realize it, and for a period of time, I actually thought that, you know, everyone saw life and went through life how I went through it. Like I was so, you know, naive. But it wasn't until I got into middle school and I started seeing like that we had, but there were still people.
Wait, are you saying like you didn't understand like the struggles of being black?
Not early on. Not early on.
Okay.
Like there was because it
wasn't. You hadn't even seen like what it means.
Right. It wasn't in your face. It wasn't in your face. Okay. Like, you know, I know a lot of our brothers and sisters, they dealt with their struggles in their face.
Where'd you grow up? Like, so that, where?
I mean, suburban, like Dallas, Texas. So, you know, new money city, you know, new jobs. I think that, like, from that experience, I just ended up, like, really thinking that everyone went through life like that. It wasn't until I started like getting friends in the black culture, so to say, that, you know, didn't have the same homes that
Did that
I was
happen
living
when
in.
you were in school or like when you went to college? Did that happen?
No, well, I think that it happened more so in high school. It definitely happened more in high school when it really got clear. Like the majority of my friends in high school didn't even come from a 2-parent household. You know what I mean? Like, so it was very like it was very in your face about like, you know, how people live. But I noticed that we all had commonalities. We all like doing the same thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I knew that
the home life was always kind of like the same home life as that of your other black brother sister.
And it was just interesting for me because we didn't practice like a, so to say, an African culture. But it wasn't, you know, and I wouldn't say that it was an American, you know, how, you know, white American culture has their structure. It wasn't that either. So we always knew that we were different.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, you don't understand. I feel like me personally, I didn't really understand what it was to be black until you start seeing how that plays for you in, you know, your journey. You know, like you said, college. When I came into consciousness of seeing of how, like, actually laws were set up to keep certain people down, that's when I started realizing, like, damn, this is really, like, institutional. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think college was when I realized privilege. You know what I'm saying? Like, the differences that I had with the differences in between households, like that with those of people of my white friends, you know. I actually started realizing that we did grow up differently. Our households were completely different. When they went out to college, it was more so like have fun. Like you have their parents had been saving up for their college funds. Everything was already paid for, so they went to school to like have fun and figure out what they wanted to do. It wasn't like that for me. Not even like how my parents instilled college in us. Like I had 5 brothers that all played sports because my parents, I know in the back of their mind, they knew that that was the only way to get their black sons to college, fully paid scholarships, you know? And I don't knock them for, I don't even knock them for that, you know? But at the same time, I knew what they were doing and why they felt they needed to do that. For me, the girls, they instilled that education was a priority. Like, you're going to school and there's no time to figure out what you want to do. You need to know what you want to do before you get there, and you need to graduate in 4 years and do it. You know, that's how they instilled school and the importance of school to us. But it was very different from that of my white counterparts.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because, like you say, they, you know, it sounds like, you know, your people stress sports really to get their kids out of the game, so to say. And my mom's was big on education. Like, it was the complete opposite. We love sports. We all wanted to use sports to get out. You know what I mean? We had a common connection with it. But my mom was always on the books, and I think that she was like that because that's how she made it out. And she saw that, you know, education was the answer to, you know, everything that we needed at the end of the day. So I do feel that that's what drove us. Like you say, privilege. We went to college. I went to college because I just figured that was what I was supposed to do. But that was but why did you go? You know what I mean? It wasn't like the privilege is that you get to go.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
not know what you want to do though.
Right.
The privilege is you get to go regardless because mommy and daddy had the money set aside for you to go and, you know, ball out in college and do.
Or that financial aid came in handy, but still, even you know, just thinking about those that didn't, you know, they ain't even going to college wasn't even a thought in their mind. You know what I mean? Like or access to, you know, another level of education. They were, you know, seeking out other ways to make things happen. You know what I mean? I think that privilege, like you say, we may have even I know I took it for granted. You know, I went to college literally thinking that it was about a piece of paper. You know what I'm saying? Like you go 4 or 5 years, you go get that slip, and somebody supposed to, you know, give you something. But that ain't how it goes. And especially being black in America, like that's definitely not how it goes. Like you gotta really go 2 times as hard for whatever you're trying to get. But go ahead, you had it.
Well, I was gonna say, did you ever feel like your house was like more strict than that of your other friends or something?
Oh, I think it was way stricter. It was much stricter. Just because I feel like, you know, a lot of the lesson that we're being brought up under is survival tactics. You know what I mean? Like we're doing different things so that we can make it through. We you know, I hear a lot of you know, decisions being made so that we can so to speak, you know, live a long life. You know what I mean? Be able to you know.
Were there examples that you had, like growing up that you knew that you felt that your parents were like more strict on you? But you didn't understand why they were more strict on you. Like, you know, what did your parents do that you felt you came from a more strict household?
Well, I mean, they definitely just even from things as small as not even allowing us to go to, you know, house parties,
or stay at a friend's house,
or even down to how long it took them to let us start driving. You know what I mean? I think that everything was done, you know, to kind of prevent us from what could happen, what could or could not happen. And I don't think that all cultures move like that. I think that is part of the stigma that does come with being black, is we know as parents that we got to do a little extra, look out for our kids, or so we feel like that because of the society that we living in. You know what I mean? Or we have to really like protect our kids. And so we say, hey, yo, something that was big when we was kids, but you better be in the house for that street light come on. You know what I mean? And when you a kid, you're like, why I gotta be in the house by the time? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You ain't thinking anything bad would happen at that point in time, but you know, history.
It took me growing up. Honestly, it took me growing up to understand why my parents were so strict. I used to be like, why can't I stay the night at my friend's house? Like, I don't understand. Like, why do you want them to stay the night at our house, but I can't stay the night there, you know? But I understood that they were just protecting me. Like, I grew up and I started seeing, like, what happens when sleepovers do happen, you know? And you don't even know if, like, your daughter's going to be the only black girl at that sleepover, and you're just being very protective. And now I see why my parents were so protective over us. They just wanted to keep us seen as kids in society as long as they could, you know? And it made sense because if we're seen as grown adults, you see what they do to us. So I completely, that just trails back to growing up black in America. As you get older and you want to ask, like, why do you become so prideful in being black? It's literally because you start to understand the struggles of being black, and you have to understand that there's so much more to being black than just the struggle. And you only grew up knowing the negative connotations of it, but now there's like so much positivity and joyfulness in saying that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just like, you know, the word nigga, you know, or just like, you know, women have done with the word bitch. You know, I'll say it seems like we have.
It's different though when a girl says it. It's different when a girl says it because it's like, hey, what up? You know what I'm saying?
I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? It was a point in time where that word was looked at like, look, you better not even come around me with.
Well, I think
like
even when a girl says it, you better.
And we have turned all of that into, you know, pride, a prideful thing. Now I ain't trying to get all on those other two words, but back to just black, because I look at how black was still a term given to us, you know, by the slave master, so to say.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
I thought the word nigga or nigger was the term.
I mean, I think that you know, came along. But I think that even from the beginning standpoint, when you start talking about, you know, racial integrity laws, and you start talking about when white people started identifying as white, you know, that's where, you know, the alternative even came from. You know, these group of people said, we're gonna call ourselves white people, and we're gonna, you know, preserve our whiteness. You know what I mean? And then the alternative was what? Non-white. You know, so we look at.
So you think when people started calling themselves blacks was like during like the civil rights time, that era?
I think it came after Negro, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it
the
was
colors
Negroes,
and the whites and the
and Negroes, pretty much, you said the niggers, all of that, but then it went on to
being just black.
Black.
I think that it started off as first it was nigger, then it was nigga or black.
60s and 70s, early 70s. Black and I'm proud. Black power.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I think that time frame was when we really like
started embracing
being black, or so to say. You know what I mean?
You started hearing like black in a positive light.
Right.
I'm black and I'm proud, and he was like just saying it, you know, so boldly.
And so I think where we differ is you feel like we can turn that term into a positive term. And I feel as if it's just perpetuating the racism. You know what I'm saying? That's what I feel. That's the only reason why I feel good, bad, or indifferent about that word black. But
why do you feel like that?
We can get into that.
We're gonna let it break. Let's not give y'all too much right away.
We're gonna definitely get into, you know, why we feel good, bad, or indifferent
about the term black.
About black, because I mean, and y'all let us know. Don't forget, call in at 804-905-8333, and tell us how you feel about the term black and being black, so to say. And what you think about, you know, the longevity of a term like that. I want to get into it, but I feel like we should go to let it break. What you think? break. But you got a record for us real quick. We're gonna have B on the ones and two drop us a record one time, and we're gonna come back to y'all and really dig into this concept of, you know, is this whole black thing something we should keep or something that we should sweep? Hold it down one time right here on the Mouth of the South.
Alright.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? This Richmond, Virginia, this RVA hip hop. This how we sound. Yo.
I'm from the era of the la-di-da. Used to rock the box with Random and the Adidas. Got more balls than Mardi Gras. Big breasted women jumping titties, popping out them bras. Haha, I made you look like Nas. I ain't no rookie with this rap shit. No boy with a kingpin. Hooking up that crack spit for the flow they fiend. So I'm hustling the flow now. So I can get the cash with the adjective, the verb, and the pronoun.
Yo, that's working to my nigga Bars Night. My nigga Big Style, my nigga Noah O, man. I've been doing this shit, I've been had these bars, and niggas can't fuck with it, nigga. And you gon' learn why they say
It's Tony Ray. Hey, stop playing with me. It ain't no stopping me. I don't play by my money less it's monopoly. I spin the wheel on this revolver, take the treasury. And if you question my fortune, you'll be in jeopardy. Look, same number on my gun and my shoe size. My crew got the same guns that's on True Lies. I get to dissing these new guys. Cause like Martin on Life, the shit I spit is hot as them two pies. Hey.
I feel you, Tone. You know who it is, charge of Noah O. Bars Nights, I appreciate you for letting me come along, homie. Style, what up?
Yo, independent brick by brick, building gain leverage. Track for track, check my catalog, the same message. Flaws is absent, flow immaculate. Body rap without the tummy tuck, close the casket. Goofy gas, they juice stats, but they souls is absent. Overdrive the finish line, but never blow a gasket. We aiming for infrastructure, lead the game restored. We open doors, excellence, repping the 804. Noah,
Ripping that 804.
Red,
It's what them haters be hating for.
Bars,
What the fans still been waiting for.
Style.
Say no more.
Yeah, they got me on the level, Fred Hampton and Huey on. These rappers sound like they won first place at GoofyCon. Murder every track they threw me on. I told them I was the best, still waiting for somebody to prove me wrong. You never buzz cause your bars light. See, I'm the type to step in the all black party, dressed in all white. Bars so tight, they be begging me to say the same bars twice. Cause even bars nice, and my bars nice, right?
Right back one time for your mind. This is the Mouth of the South. I am your host, St. Lamore. If you just now tuning in, go ahead.
Your girl Amanda O.
Already ready, and we just left off on the topic of, you know, what we feel, how we feel about the term black, and if we feel, you know, as if it's something that we need to keep
Or let go.
or let go
Or do
of.
away with.
Yeah, me personally, I feel like, you know, it's definitely I agree that it's a unifying term. I'll give you that, but I do still feel as if we cannot defeat this whole racism thing until we stop identifying as black. Now,
Do you?
Yeah.
Are you? When you say it like that, it almost sounds like you identify black as in a negative connotation
see,
by trying to like saying you don't want to identify as black. You know, that's what it just sounds like to me when you say it like that. Though, I don't know if that's what you're saying.
I got you. I mean, no, it wasn't what I was saying, because I definitely don't think that there is anything that we do that's negative. However, I do feel like it assists the narrative. Like you say, we want to really get to the point where we're all one people, right? Or we want to get back to that point. But I feel like, you know, bringing in the term black is really helping with the division. You know, I came up on really like, you know, big black pride, like, you know, like it was a team, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that whole Denver, like
Why do
that
you
whole,
want to do away with the term black?
because I think it's just dividing us. You know, like I say, I looked at it like it was a team thing. Like, okay, well, if you're not black, then you ain't us type thing. And I think that it's because of that word. And I think that, people do that with other words like nations and whatnot. But I don't know. We talking about America, we talking about racism. Huh?
So saying like the term black is dividing us as who? Dividing who?
The people of the country, right? So we could just say we're Americans, right? We could just say that. But I feel like to kind of satisfy our, racial system, we have to say I'm black or I'm white or I'm Hispanic or Latino. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And we don't have to do that, but I think that, we've just done that because it becomes all people really understand. It's easier to really associate like that and say, like, you can't just say, well, I'm American. Okay, well, everybody's American, so, you know what I'm saying? In this area. So I always felt like that. But talk a little bit about, like, why you actually think it's something that we should hold on to, and what you feel like we've done with it. Like,
I feel when I use the term black, I mean, as a black person, you feel like knowing you're black, that's your identity, So it's so important to your identity for people to know that you're black. I don't know, in other communities it's not like that, but like when you're black, that's your identity. It's part of your identity because it's the way you guys are treated different in society. Just because you're black. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it becomes your identity. So I hear what you're saying, but I do not agree with doing away with that term because it unifies us. It's not like a simple question, but there was a actual university professor. She was a sociology professor named Karen Lacey. She did like a study of the black middle class family in Washington D.C. suburban area, and she pretty much wanted to understand why black people think it's so important for people to know that they're black, and why they have such a why do they hold it to such high esteem, And you would think that she thought that people were gonna be like the normal light that it's held in is like, oh, I'm waking up every morning I hate that I'm black. Not that I hate that I'm black, but I'm like, I'm waking up black, and I have to wake up with the struggles every single morning, just have to overcome them, But she got a different sense. She got a different feedback. People were saying there's a lot of joy in being black, and she was getting a lot of positive feedback and coverage, and it wasn't in that negative light, It was like when they termed themselves as black, it was pride. It wasn't negative.
We found the beauty in the struggle.
Pretty much.
So to say.
Yeah, and that's what the term does for us as a community.
And that's what I love about our people. We can make any situation, a positive one. And that's a tribute to our people, our culture,
The centrality of racial identity to being black is important to consider, and a lot of the concepts that we talk about. That's why.
I agree with that. I agree with that racial identity, but that's why I say, okay. Then the question becomes
how would you racially identify us though? If you don't use black, because if you say it any other way, you become discriminatory in the context of it.
Well, that's why I ultimately feel like we would have to just do away with rape,
Okay.
But that's
okay.
But that's another conversation. I think that's part of the conversation because we're all making a big fuss about racism, but we are perpetuating racism. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's the only thing. As soon as we stop associating with a color, racism will end. You know what I'm saying? But the draw on it and how joyful, like you said, it has become, like the struggle,
in
the
black,
fight.
and then usually you also.
It's like, I don't know. I think it's like we took a page out of the patriotic book, like, because we treat being black like white people treat being American. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's just how we have positioned it. But Go ahead.
I feel like black people always stick together. That's what I also love about being black too. Though they always come together, regardless. Just because you know that quote. I might not say it right, but it's like when you go through struggle with somebody, or go through the same traumatic experiences, or you go through the same type of pretty much experiences in life together. You guys have that connection that no one else can understand or break, you know? And I think that's what black people have with one another. But they all come together when we need them to come together. Whether it's on the political forefront, when Obama